W.Alison Phillips was an English historian, a specialist in the history of Europe in the 19th century. From 1914 to 1939 he was the first holder of the Lecky Chair of History in Trinity College, Dublin. Most of his writing is in the name of W.Alison Phillips, and he was sometimes referred to as Alison Phillips. A former president of the Oxford Union and special correspondent of the Times newspaper, he was a prolific author, including contributions to the Encyclopaedia Britannica, of which for 8 years he was chief assistant editor. Early life. The son of John and Jane Phillips of Epsom in Surrey, Phillips was educated at Merchant Taylors' School, which he left in 1882, then at Merton College, Oxford, where he was an exhibitioner, and lastly from 1886 at St John's, where he was senior scholar. He graduated BA in 1885, with first-class honours in history, and MA in 1889. In the Michaelmas term of 1886, he was president of the Oxford Union. On the 7th of June 1887, as a guest in the Cambridge Union, he supported the motion that in the opinion of this House it is desirable to concede Home Rule for Ireland, while Sir John Gorse, a former Solicitor General, came to speak against the motion. Career. At first, Phillips concentrated his efforts on writing. His first book, published in 1896, was a translation of selected poems of Walther von der Vogelweide, followed the next year by the War of Greek Independence 1821 to 1833. In 1901 appeared his Modern Europe 1815 to 1899. From 1903 to 1911, Phillips was chief assistant editor of the projected 11th edition of the Encyclopaedia Britannica, serving under Hugh Chisholm, who was editor-in-chief. In 1912, he went to South America as a special correspondent of the Times newspaper, and then in 1913 was on the staff of the Times. In 1914 he was appointed Lecky Professor of Modern History in Trinity College, Dublin, the first holder of the new chair, in which he remained until his retirement in 1939. From 1939 until his death he was an honorary fellow of his old Oxford College, Merton. Phillips was strongly opposed to Irish Home Rule and once declared that Ireland is not a nation, but two peoples separated by a deeper gulf than that dividing Ireland from Great Britain. His 1923 book, The Revolution in Ireland 1906 to 1923, was criticised for being too partisan of the Unionist point of view. By 1922, Phillips was a member of the Royal Irish Academy. Outside his own specialism in European history, he contributed articles to the Encyclopaedia Britannica on musical and literary subjects, including the Nibelungenlied publications, selected poems of Walther von der Vogelweide, translations into English verse with introduction and notes, the War of Greek Independence 1821 to 1833, Modern Europe 1815 to 1899, George Canning, The Congresses 1815 to 22, Chapter 1 of Cambridge Modern History Volume 10, The Restoration, Greece and the Balkan Peninsula, Chapter 6 of Cambridge Modern History, Volume 10, The Confederation of Europe, A Short History of Germany and Her Colonies, with James Wycliffe Headlam and Arthur William Holland, A Short History of Austria-Hungary and Poland, with H. Wickham Steed and David Hannay, The Revolution in Ireland 1906 to 1923, History of the Church of Ireland, from the earliest times to the present day, Volume 2, Movement towards Rome, the Medieval Church and the Reformation. Many articles for the Encyclopaedia Britannica, signed by the initials W.A.P.